Miley Cyrus, Angels Like You, here on BBC Radio Lincolnshire. Time for our Lincolnshire Link. This is where I have a conversation with somebody. It could be anything, could be to do with a local business, could be a local community organisation, could be somebody with an interesting hobby or activity, or just an interesting story to share with us. Yesterday I was chatting with Darren Hargreaves, and Darren says, why don't you call Danny Oates? And so Danny Oates is with us on the line now. Danny, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Great to be with you.
And you. Nice to have a chat with you. Lots to talk about. A musician and a school teacher. And something fairly major has happened to you during lockdown that we'll get onto in a moment. But as a musician, where did the love of music come from?
So the love of music really comes from my childhood, because my mum played piano and I've got brothers that played guitar. So it was kind of a feature that happened quite regularly in our household. And so just grew up with the love of music and then developed and doing what I do today with it.
And did you ever have family jamming sessions where you'd all get together and all perform at home then?
Well, what tended to happen was my mum would get on the piano, and there were certain times and certain situations where we might feel excited or we might feel sad. Different things happen in the family, and we'd often go around that sort of piano with my mum, and she'd start a song, and then we'd just have a sing a song and kind of work out our emotions, as it were, through singing the songs at the time. And
what was it like during your school years? Did you get involved more musically and performing during the school years?
Yeah, that was all part and parcel of growing up. I did have a little moment where I rebelled, as it were, if you want to call it that, where they tried to put me into an orchestra, and I wasn't particularly into orchestras at the time. And so for a period, I actually sort of turned like the music side of things down, and I started to get quite silly in class, to be fair, and so that I got a bit of a reputation. And the interesting thing was, I don't know if we get away with saying it now in reports, but it got that bad in the school that my final report said that he doesn't have a musical bone in his body, and I've got that framed in my music room. And you would never get away with that these days. But then within a year, I was doing a school assembly, sat at the piano, belting out a tune like a good, and also it was almost like, there you go, you got it wrong.
Exactly. And do you know, it's a bit like people that have on their school reports, no hope at all. They end up being the chief executive of some major company somewhere. You really can't tell. And indeed. I think, you will find, because you work in schools as well, you'll find that different people develop at different times and at different ages, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, where I work now, it's just, to be fair, it's one of the joys of my life, because I work at St Francis Special School, so I teach music and technical stuff to post-16 students. And so a lot of students with complex needs, a wide range of spectrums of abilities and all kinds of manner of stuff. And actually, for me, with the upbringing that I had or experienced in the school, I want to say, whatever you can achieve, if you can achieve it to the best of your ability and I can help you unlock that, then that's a good day for me.
I can't remember how long ago it was, and I can't remember the young lady's name, but I remember going to a special school, and they were teaching music, and I can't remember who it was, but we went into a soft play area, and goodness me, the way music affected this young student at that time, who had all sorts of different things going on. The music just calmed her down totally. Do you find that when you're in at the St Francis Special School?
It's like a universal language. No matter what language you physically speak, music can reach parts of your inner being, actually, that nothing else can do. But what's really interesting is, depending on what some of the the challenges some of our young people are facing, it will be different styles of music, different tempos, even different keys that can either unlock, like an excited response, engage in that way, or if there is a moment when they're feeling quite stressed, another piece of music will kind of calm somebody else down. So it's very bespoke to each young person, but absolutely right, it unlocks at a level that I don't think sometimes that spoken language can do.
Outside of lockdown, were you performing up to a year ago? Would you go out? Were you still doing gigs and things, or how's your life developed?
Yeah. Yeah, so before lockdown, very kind of moving around, doing different sort of events and conferences, festivals, that type of thing. And then when we went into lockdown, very quickly it became either kind of sink or swim. So you could either just sit on your levels and go, well, that's it, I'm done and dusted, And it's been, don't get me wrong, it's been really quite hard, but I jumped online pretty much straight away. So I literally started with my mobile phone and sort of jamming online. And then as time's gone on and grown, and obviously people have followed and people have liked, then my equipment's got more better and now kind of streaming into so many different places and still performing, and probably more busy now than certainly leading into lockdown I ever was, to be fair.
I think it's really interesting, isn't it? And I always, when I talk to young people involved with music and just getting into music, the facilities there that you can record such fantastic quality on a mobile phone, you can broadcast it on a mobile phone. When you think that, if you were a busker years ago, you'd have recorded something on a very hissy background cassette, and that was all you had. Now the quality of what you can record on your phone is really up there, isn't it?
It's absolutely fantastic what you can do on your phone, and that you can collaborate with people as well. So files can bounce up and down on the internet down to somebody else. They can add their bit and back up it goes. I mean, the internet's awash of that type of, that type of people working collaboratively together. So in many ways, we've been through a season where we've not been connected, but actually in other ways we're more connected than we've ever been in those certain circumstances.
Yeah, and we've often talked on this programme with various people about the church connection and churches having gone online, and that's reaching a different audience but a wider audience. But you've actually written songs and music for churches, haven't you?
Yeah, so I kind of travel around under the name of King's Chamber, which is what people would know me as, and so that can be found on Spotify, YouTube, all the usual kind of channels. If they Google like King's Chamber, Danny Oates, all that stuff will come up. And so so I've written kind of many songs that are a song sort of quite kind of nationally as well around in different churches. I think what you would call kind of major necessarily within the spectrum of stuff, but still able to kind of, if you like, serve those environments and those church platforms and allow them to communicate and sing great songs to God.
And these churches that you've connected with are actually all around the world. They're not just in Lincolnshire or in this country. They're around the world, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the weirdest but coolest things about the whole lockdown for me, really. I mean, I was travelling internationally before lockdown, so I've been to places like America and things like that doing the music. But since lockdown, I've gone to places like the UAE, been to like Australia, been to Portugal, and all these places that kind of dial in that I've never physically been, but because of the amazing internet, it's allowed me to be able to kind of connect with those communities at large.
Have you got your tour worked out then when you're allowed?
Oh, I tell you what, wouldn't that be amazing? I think I'd probably need 2 or 3 years of travelling around the place if I were to fulfil a tour that covered what I. Because of course, you see, when you kind of do something physically in person, you've got like the one event. So it might be Friday night and you travel and you do the event and you come back. But in this day and age now, I could do 5 or 6 events in a weekend that I would never been able to do actually in person. So if I started to multiply that as in-person visits, it would take a long time.
Look, we could talk for ages on this, but there is another aspect of your life I want to touch on. We'll get you back on the programme in the future to talk more about that side. But before lockdown, you were getting quite large. I don't think you mind me being a little bit personal on this, but actually, during lockdown, you've lost a huge amount of weight. Just tell me your story about your weight loss.
Okay, so part and parcel of it is linked to the fact that I am, travelling around musician. So the beginnings of it is too many service stations, too many pasties, too many fried breakfasts, too many kind of curries after events. And I kind of went through, I got to a weight of 2311 stone, which is, absolutely huge. So if you pop that in, it's kind of like clothes size, it's like a 52, 53 jacket, 44 waist, the works. But what happened along with that was a lot of health complications came along the way from, I suppose, from a lifestyle that I'd chosen and didn't control at the point of when I should have been controlling what I was eating, because I could see that I was getting larger. I could see that my body was changing. I could see that mobility was going. I could see I was feeling ill. All this stuff, I could see it happening. But what happens is your mental health comes into play then, and then you kind of feel bad about yourself, and then you might eat to make yourself feel a bit better, than you feel bad about yourself. And I kind of got into that cycle of work, tired, feeling really bad about myself, and then comforting that whole process through eating food. And so, yeah, at my heaviest, it was 23.11.
Wow, nearly 24 stone. What gave you the reason to try and lose weight?
So, again, at the height of it, so my mobility was absolutely shocking. So it was very much like, if I wanted to tie my shoelaces, I kind of had to think of something else I could do while I was down there as well, just to make it worthwhile, because the mobility was so bad. I was as diabetic as you could be before they said you were diabetic. I had breathing issues. I was snoring, and the biggest part of it really was my mental health aspect. And if I'm going to be real, just a sentence here, what happened was, I'm an asthma sufferer, and I remember I had my inhaler, and I thought I woke up. I think I was half asleep when I kind of woke up, and I thought, I need my inhaler, and I kind of got into a panic, half asleep. Took my inhaler, and then what happened was my heart rate raced up, because that's what kind of one of the effects that the inhaler had. And then literally for about 2 months after that, I didn't know what was reality and what wasn't reality. I was in a completely shocking state, kind of mental health wise, and it just came to that point where it was very much sink, swim, make some changes, or the other side of it is not going to look pretty effectively.
And what did you do? Did you get some advice on how to cut down? Did you go on to some sort of diet plan? What did you do?
Well, I tried Googling, as you do, on the internet, all these words, diets and all the rest of it, and loads of things came up. And, I'm not a dietitian or a health specialist. I can only kind of tell you my story. For me, what had to happen was a complete change of relationship with food. So as I was looking at a diet, I was thinking, that's going to trigger me, because a diet's always come to an end. And what do you do when your diet ends? You have old habits, they come back in. If I'd set myself a goal and said, right, I want to be this weight by this time, as soon as I hit that goal, it's like the yo-yo effect. So you're going to get married, I want to get into that suit. And then as soon as you hit that goal, old habits kind of fell in and would start. And that really was my lifestyle for many, many, many years, until this point when I had to kind of go, well, it has to be, one, sustainable, two, it has to be something that I could do every day, and three, it has to be a lifestyle change. So get rid of all the goals, but live as if I want to live the next day, survive the next day, be around for my children, be a good wife, be a good husband, and kind of sort this whole process out. So I didn't set goals. I just decided to cut down portion size. So instead of 2 Yorkshire puddings, 1 Yorkshire pudding. Instead of, I did, to be fair, cut out a lot of the sweet stuff because of the diabetic kind of issue that was taken there. But even now I can go back in and I'm still eating basically decent portion size, plenty of water. And here's the key for me. I started to walk. So every single day, come rain, shine, high water, I'm up in the morning and I'm out and about and I'm walking. So most days I walk at least 10 miles a day.
So look, at your worst, you were nearly 24 stone. What do you weigh now?
Yeah. So I'm 14.5.
Wow. And that's in the year?
We think about it. It's probably the majority of what I lost was within the first year, and then obviously now it's kind of maintaining. But it feels a bit weird admitting this, but when if you change the size and you go shopping for clothes and stuff like this, and I remember going it was quite an emotional moment because I went with my wife and bearing in mind I was in 45, sometimes 46 trousers, and I'd been wearing these clothes, even though losing the weight, to begin to look a bit kind of silly. And I was going, right, we need to get some more clothes. So normally I'd be shopping in the sale rack of well-known supermarkets, the double X, the triple X T-shirts, all the rest of it. But me good lady, she goes, why don't we go to somewhere like Next, if we could say that. And we went in there. And we tried some trousers on, and we got a 38. And he goes, "Oh no, that looks too baggy." And we like going in, and he goes, "Oh, let's try the 36." Now we got all the way down, and we got down to a size 34. And I just remember kind of like in the changing rooms, looking at the mirror, and I'm not even ashamed to say I blubbered like an absolute baby because it was just what I was looking at and seeing the clothes that were hung up that I was wearing to what I was wearing, and the difference that it looked like and how it made me feel. It was just an immense feeling.
Oh, Danny, I'm welling up just hearing that because I could do with losing a bit, and at the end of the day, you've got to be determined. You've got to want to do that, and you've proved that you can. It's an incredible story. How do you feel in yourself now?
So, I mean, amazing, a completely different person. I've got a zeal for life, foggy brain, if you want to call it that, gone. I can think straight. I can actually do a full bend down to do my own laces and get back up. And it's just what you've got to do. And again, no specialist. I think you've got to try and change your relationship with food, how you see food. See it as sustaining your life. So I eat now to sustain my exercise and to live. So I know when my body's full, so I stop eating. I drink lots of water to kind of keep that whole process going. And I don't focus on necessarily, I know the numbers, I've told you the numbers because that's what people want to know. But the reality is just try and live health. It will lock in for a month, and after a month, month is really difficult. And then after the month, for me, it was a whole nother level, plain sailing, and I just started to see all the health benefits. And
have you kept any of those old trousers, the big old trousers?
Well, this is the thing. I kept one pair, but the rest of the pair, I took them down to kind of the recycle place, and donated them to places that sort of might need that, and then kind of in school we can use them as overalls when we're painting and that type of thing. But I have kept at least one set of clothes just to look at and kind of go, I mean, if people are really interested, if they go onto the YouTube and they look for King's Chamber, there is a whole kind of 20, 30-minute blog going into more detail exactly what I did.
I'm sure people will. King's Chamber. I'm only pulling your leg, but I'm just thinking of you taking in your old trousers into the school. You can get back 3 children in one of those pairs of trousers, couldn't you?
Well, and the rest, you could probably get like 3 wheelchairs and another 3 children in those. I mean, it's just the journey, you. And I can't tell you the health benefits. And again, particularly for men, if they're struggling, just encourage you to get back up, try again. And don't feel guilty. Don't feel, we fall down. I might eat something and go, do you know what? I shouldn't have eaten that. I know that. But I get back up again. Yeah. And I get back and I start living the life how we should be living it.
Danny, you're an inspiration. It's an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for your time today. I need a name of someone to talk to tomorrow. Who can I talk to tomorrow?
So, a lady by the name of Fiona, and Fiona and her husband Derek, and they run a local business called Curry Jacks. And a lot of people around Netlham and other areas where they kind of park up will know them. But they have got an amazing array of things that they could talk about because, they lived in the UAE as well, and that's where I met them, and now they're in Lincolnshire and they're great friends, and I just think they will be really cool to have a chat with. I'm
looking forward to it already. Thank you so much, Danny. What a great conversation. Thank you for sharing that with us. Danny Oates. As I say, I never know where the conversation is going to really go when we do our Lincolnshire link. What an inspiration, though. Partly because of health issues and diabetes and those sides of things as well. But before lockdown, 24 stone, down to 14 stone, 5 now. But really not just the figures, just talking about the fact, that he's changed his lifestyle as well. What an inspiration. And tomorrow we'll have a catch up with Fiona.
All the music you love.
Hello, this is Passenger and this is my latest thing.